Hi, I'm Nick.
And I'm Mel. I grew up playing outside.
And I grew up doing something meaningful, watching movies and TV.
I never had cable, and we finally bought a VCR about the same time DVD players hit the market.
Throughout our marriage, Mel has sadly missed many of my pop culture references and movie quotes.
So it's time to catch up on all the films I missed.
Hello, Melissa.
Good evening.
Good evening. And how are you?
I'm great. I'm in the mood for a movie.
I, too, am in the mood for a movie. We're heading into the summer season.
Yeah.
And there's typically one thing that gets on your mind for summer. Do you know what that is?
Twister?
Huh? Actually, I don't know if that's a summer thing or a spring thing for me, if I'm being honest.
It's this time of year.
Yeah.
It's like the end of spring. It's
Yeah.
the spring-summer
It's
overlap.
the sweet spot in between.
What?
Yeah. No, I start thinking about how you start asking me about, like, where are we going? What are we doing? Where are we traveling? Like,
Right.
This happens.
Road trip.
Yeah. Road trip. Yeah. Thinking
Road
about
trip
traveling.
times,
Yeah.
Traveling.
Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Do you know what we're watching today?
No, I don't know.
No?
I know it's kid-friendly.
It's true.
What traveling movie is kid-friendly?
That's a good question.
I'm at a loss.
Can I give you a hint?
Yes, please.
This is the most epic travel movie ever.
Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy?
Okay, that's pretty epic too.
Epic travel
Let me say
movie.
the most epic travel movie of its time. Does that help?
Lampoon Vacation?
Ooh, you got to go back further. We're time traveling today.
Homeward Bound?
It's a very famous book.
Nothing's coming to mind.
And the
What?
and the increment of time in which they have to complete the trip is in the title.
Around the World in 80 Days?
Yes.
Oh, cool.
We made it there.
Oh, yay. Oh, I'm so excited. We just read the book with the kids.
We sure did.
Jules Verne.
We sure did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so what one are there multiple versions of this movie, and which one are we watching?
You're going to have to wait to find out.
Okay.
I usually ask you how much you know about this movie, but I'm pretty sure you have a solid grasp of the plot since we just read the book.
Yes,
Fair?
absolutely. Yeah.
So with that in mind, though, Jules Verne has a very particular way of writing, right? He's kind of simplistic with his writing, but it's great.
Fast.
I love it. It's
Yeah.
fast. What are your expectations of this movie? What are you thinking?
Oh my gosh.
You've not seen it, right?
No,
Correct?
I haven't. Well, I'm excited to see who plays the main character and his assistant, Phileas Fogg, and whoever his assistant is.
Despardeaux or something. Yeah,
It's a French name.
Yeah, it's
yeah.
French. Yeah.
But I think it takes place in England, or it begins in England. So I don't know. I'm just excited to see who plays these characters and if it's going to be like a grand sweeping, movie.
Okay. Anything you're dreading?
I think I'd want the movie maybe like fleshed out a little bit.
Okay.
The book reads really fast.
Yeah, they're like, they have like one little snippet of information for each region, and then you're like 1,000 miles later.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I would like to have those. I would like to have it kind of drawn out.
Okay.
But also you want to feel like you're in a race,
Sure.
right?
Sure.
So drawn out, but also fast paced.
Okay. It's
That's not too much to ask.
No, not at all. It's kind of interesting how like things in like the 70s when you made movies, they were kind of like, they took their time with the plot and they kind of like rolled and meandered. And then movies have kind of gone into like a short action packed, like hitting you with stimulation all the time.
Yeah.
Jules Verne's writing kind of was like that. It was like hitting you with like stimulation in all of his short chapters. It was almost like Dan Brown 100 years before Dan Brown.
I was going to compare him to Dan Brown like
Yeah.
3 times during this conversation.
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting to think about how old that is and that common sensibility. Nothing old is ever new. Nothing new is ever old. I don't remember how the saying goes.
Okay, back to the movie. Can we go watch it?
There's nothing new under the sun. Yes. If you can give me a movie poster and a tagline,
okay,
we can go check it out.
I want the movie poster to have an elephant and a person on top of it, Phileas Fogg.
Okay.
Riding the elephant.
Okay.
And like kind of overlaid with maps.
Ooh.
Like in the background, you know?
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Yeah. And Around the World in 80 Days. Let's see. It was a bet he couldn't afford to lose.
Ooh.
Mm-hmm.
You're getting pretty good at this.
Thank you.
All right, let's go check it out.
Let's do it.
And start.
4, 3, 2, 1, fire.
This is a $9 million, 275,000-pound Atlas Agena rocket. Today, it circles the globe at a speed of over 18,000 miles an hour in little more than 80 minutes.
Is this any way to see the world? It's a wonderful world if you'll only take the time to go around it.
Are you formally challenging me to undertake a journey around the world in 80 days?
I say this is absurd.
Gentlemen, I have on deposit at Baring's Bank the sum of £20,000, and I'm willing to wager any or all of it upon the same contention, namely that I can complete a tour of the world in 80 days.
Michael Todd's Around the World in 80 Days. We make all the stops. 2 oceans. 5 seas. 8 ways to travel. 16 countries. 48 fantastic stars and 52 Best Picture awards.
I'm in pursuit of a very cunning, very slippery criminal.
Who?
Phileas Fogg, Esquire of Savile Row, London.
Pile everything that will burn into the stokehold. Decks, masts, everything, including the lifeboats. Now what is the delay?
Indians, but they're peaceful Indians.
Getting there is all the fun. Take her along. Take everybody along. Every seat is first class, and we've got enough seats for everybody. This is the way to travel. It is a wonderful world if you'll take the time to go around it. Michael Todd's Around the World in 80 Days.
Well, be careful what you wish for, Melissa.
I wanted a longer movie.
You wanted a longer movie.
I wanted more time in each country.
You wanted more time in each country.
And I got it.
This movie weighed in at a whopping 2 hours and 55 minutes.
It has an intermission.
It has an intermission. And watching you and the kids, like when we went on to disc 2, yes, there were 2 discs. It says, what was it? It was like Les
Entrearts.
Entreart, or I don't speak French. But the kids were like, what is that? And I'm like, well, that's what they would be playing on the screen when you're like, would have intermission in the theater. And they're like, well, how long does it last? And like, they didn't want to stare at it. Reasonably so as well. Oh, wow. What did you think?
Well, actually, for the most part, I really, really enjoyed it. It's a journey.
It is definitely a journey. That's true.
But it's beautifully shot.
Yeah.
The scenes, like, the sweeping grandeur of the scenes in different countries and the music is really enjoyable. And you kind of have to go into it with the mindset of like when you go into Sound of Music.
Oh, totally.
Where you're like, okay, I'm going to settle in. I know there's going to be an intermission. This is not like about quick plot, solving the mystery or whatever. This is about enjoying the ride.
Yes.
It's a Sunday drive.
It is. I would say it's a weekend drive, but yes.
It's not, a trip to the grocery store.
You were not in a hurry. That is correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So once you like kind of do that in your mind, it's beautiful and it's fun. The characters are a lot of fun. Phileas Fogg is great, and his Passepartout is also very fun to watch.
Both of those, the actors there, like David Niven, he said this was like his favorite role he'd done. He did a really good job too. Like,
he was Phileas Fogg.
He really nailed it.
Yeah.
And go ahead.
I looked him up and I was expecting him to be like in Mary Poppins or something, because he seems like he would have been one of the bankers in Mary Poppins, but he's also known for the Pink Panther.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And nothing else that I really recognize.
Have you seen the Pink Panther?
Negative.
Okay. All right. I remember he looked very familiar to me, and that is probably why, because I've seen those movies. Also, Passepartout, French butler extraordinaire, played by Mexican actor. Sorry, I don't even know how to pronounce Cantinflas. He was the biggest movie star in the 1950s, like in the world.
Whoa!
Like he was like a huge actor in the 50s, which is just so interesting to me.
That makes sense because he has a charisma.
He does. He really does. It feels like he was riding the coattails of like vaudeville, kind of launched from like the stage to like performances. You think of Bing Crosby, etc., Buster Keaton, who's in this movie.
Right.
And like he very much was in the realm of that. I could see him like growing up doing stuff like that and doing live performances, and then just leveraging that to kind of what you saw in this movie.
But I wonder if his outfit made you think that too, because he's very much like dressed like a vaudeville performer the whole time.
Yeah.
And he has a weird mustache thing going on.
Yes, he does. That could very much be. He had a very Charlie Chaplin feel with his outfit. But like his body language, though, the way he moved a lot of the times, he was very animated. He would be very like emote with his whole body, not just his face,
Almost like he came from silent films. Is that kind of what you're saying?
Exactly. Like vaudeville became silent films, which are exaggerated like movements and expressions, which then rolled into talkies. And anyway. But anyway, his part was made much bigger in this movie because he was such a huge star. It's like all of a sudden you have The Rock in the movie and he's like the biggest movie star in the world. So you're like, oh, well, we got to take this small part and make it a little bigger.
Well, our daughters loved him.
Yeah.
He made them laugh a lot.
He did. I was shocked too. Like, given it was a 3-hour movie, just shy, like all the kids afterwards weren't like, that was boring or anything. They were like, that was really good. I really like that.
Yeah.
Which was honestly surprising. I was a little shocked.
In addition to this being a long movie, it also had the longest credit sequence at the time.
It sure did.
6 minutes and 21 seconds.
Yes.
And let me tell you, the credits are just as enjoyable. I loved the credits.
Yeah.
I loved the animation. It was just adorable.
It made me wonder if the Lego movie was actually thinking of those credits when it made its post-credits credit scene, because there's a song about the credits being the best part.
I love that song.
It's really good.
Back in the Lonely Islands.
Yes.
It's amazing.
So the credits were pretty phenomenal. And it beforehand too, like everything about this movie was like, we are taking our time and we are not done until we're done. And the movie literally ends with the end. Like, this is the end, right?
The ending is so abrupt.
Yeah.
That it's kind of weird with taking into consideration like how long they spent on the bullfighting scene, for example, which was really drawn out. And if I could change anything, I would cut that bullfighting scene
way down.
Down. A third of it could stay, maybe.
I'm pretty sure that the actor, he was actually doing the bullfighting though. So maybe that's why they kept it in. I don't know. And I don't know why they would have. That one is the one scene though where it did seem to drag on. And you were kind of like, can the bull nick someone to like get it a little more exciting in here.
Like they just did the same thing over and over. Maybe there's something about bullfighting that we don't understand or a context that we don't have. I don't know.
I was trying to tell the girls, like, this is actually really dangerous. So this is suspenseful and dangerous because at any moment that's a wild animal that could skewer you and kill you. But it still doesn't help. It still just looks kind of like you're staring at grass, at a certain point.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. What other parts of the movie do you think could have been trimmed? This was a 3-hour movie, or was there anything else that was, what do you think?
That one stands out the most to me. There's everything else I thought was great. Like, I don't mind that it was long and like took its time and like dwelled in areas of the world,
right?
And showed you footage and stuff. No, I don't. I think it was just the bullfighting. Just
the bullfighting? Okay.
There's probably something else that could have been cut. What about you? Do you have an idea in mind?
I think what was it? There was another scene that felt a little long, but I think I'm just thinking of the bullfight. And I was also confused that they were in Spain because that's not in the book.
Right. Yeah.
So that could be it too.
Speaking of that, when you asked me for a movie poster, it was on the tip of my tongue to say a hot air balloon. And I was like, well, that's wrong, Melissa, because there's not a hot air balloon in the movie or in the book. And there isn't. But I was right on because they do have that, I think, on the cover on the movie poster because they added it for the movie, which Jules Verne wrote a book that was called like 4 Weeks in a Balloon or something or whatever. So
they're trying to blend it almost.
Maybe it was a nod. I don't know.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Do you think this movie was well received?
Oh, I know it was.
Do you now?
Nominated for 8 Academy Awards and it won 5 of them.
Yeah, it was pretty huge. Yeah. It won the Academy Award for color cinematography, film editing, music, writing, adapted screenplay. I think it's hilarious that there was a time in the Oscars where they were like, here's the Academy Award for color cinematography. And here's the Academy Award for cinematography.
What makes this movie Academy Award material for you?
I mean, first off, it's just well produced. Like I was pointing out, the sets are crazy. Like
they are.
They did huge sets. Everything had to be practical. Like when there were hot air balloons, they were using a hot air balloon up there. Yeah. I'm fairly certain. The only things where they went to models was for the ships when they were traveling by boat. But even those, the models looked, you could tell, but they were really good models.
Yeah.
The production level was just super high quality. Like it was a $6 million budget, which for 1956 was pretty expensive. It doesn't seem like much now. The thing went on to make like, I think it was $42 million though. So I think it made back its money. I think it's okay.
Do you think the standards have changed for Oscar winners since then?
I think the standards, I don't know if I'd phrase it like the standards have changed, but the idea has changed, the concepts. Like standards would be like, well, it has to be this amount of production value to make Best Picture, right? But versus like, I think it's more how the film makes you feel nowadays. Like it's more about impact and less about like execution of craft is like the sense I kind of get. I mean, they're all intertwined. It's difficult to separate them, but like, I mean, examples now is like you'll have movies that are filmed on like shoestring budgets that could win the Oscars, right? Versus, these huge mega productions with just thousands of people involved, these epics, So I think that's changed. Like back in the day, you would have never had like a little indie movie. It would have been way more unlikely that it could win a ton of Oscars and whatnot. What about you?
As I was writing that question, I was like, Melissa, do you watch Oscar-winning movies? Like, I don't know the last ones that I've watched. Didn't Barbie win?
You've seen some. It did not win.
It didn't win. I don't know what won Best Picture last year.
Last year, Oppenheimer. You've seen it.
Okay. So with the lens of Oppenheimer, like I feel like there's a much more emphasis on drama.
Yes, it is drama. That's true.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so I feel like maybe this movie today, by today's standards, wouldn't have the drama weight to it.
True. It was, although for the time, they may have considered the bullfighting quite dramatic.
Maybe that's why it's so long.
Oh, man. So, yeah. There were definitely more dramatic. I will say, dramas from the 50s, much different than dramas from the 2020s.
Well, the problems are different.
Yeah.
The societal problems too.
True.
How does this film hold up for you?
I think it holds up in a really great way. Like, this one is like an onion of time lapse, because it's a movie from the 1950s. So you like have like 1950s sensibilities bleeding in, right? Like, I was actually shocked because there's a lot of red face, black face, yellow face, like where you would have Caucasian actors acting like people of different races. That's sprinkled throughout this movie, of course, because of the time. But it also had actual people from those different races, like doing the parts. Like, there were Native Americans, there were Japanese people. Like, I was shocked by that, honestly. Like, that would have been like very progressive for the time. And then it was when they hit the point of having a lot of extras, like if they had a scene with 100 braves, like Indian warriors, then they would have like people who weren't Native American. So it's interesting to see that. And then you also have the layer of what they thought the 1880s were like, which is, I think the most striking one for me was when they got to San Francisco and everything was so clean. It was like, kind of like the Wild West, but everything was just so spotless and clean. I think you noted the roads were asphalt instead of, would have been brick or cobblestone or dirt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was the only like detail that kind of like stood out. Everything else, like all of the sets were just meticulous, and like the clothing and the furniture, everything was so period on. It felt like
it was very good. Yeah, totally. Speaking before we move on from San Francisco, one of the nerd things you noticed was you were like, oh, that's Pabst Blue Ribbon, the beer they had in the kegs.
Yeah,
that actually was a goof. Like, Pabst Blue Ribbon wasn't even called Pabst Blue Ribbon. It was around, but it wasn't called that when the movie was supposed to take place.
Oh, well, on the sign that I saw, it just said Pabst.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's funny.
Yeah. That one, it's supposed to be, I don't remember what its original name was, but it was a different kind of beer. And it always had a blue ribbon tied around it.
Oh.
And so the names just kind of like came through that way.
Cool.
Over time.
There was a funny scene in San Francisco where Passepartout was in a bar. He was a ladies' man. So he chased after women and was distracted by women for most of the movie.
Yeah, I don't know if he was a ladies' man so much as he was, he appreciated and went after women. Ladies' man, I assume, can kind of like obtain women.
Okay.
He didn't seem like he could obtain them, you know what I mean? Or woo them. But I don't know. He
enjoyed women.
He enjoyed women, yes. He was a connoisseur. He enjoyed them, yes.
So where was I going with that? Oh, he's in a bar because he goes in there seeing that women went into the bar. And
the saloon / whorehouse is the technical term, I believe.
Okay. Well, he's in there and there's like this buffet of food.
Yes.
And he starts eating like just slicing chicken off with this knife.
With the switchblade that the proprietor had thrown at him.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And then there's a man next to him and they just start feeding each other.
Yes. That was probably the most
weird.
That was Red Skelton, which I only know his name. I don't think I've seen him in anything. But he was just
No, I recognize the name too, and I don't know why.
He's one of those people, like, growing up, I would hear the generation above me talk about him and reference him. But I could not, except for this movie, I could not name a movie he was in. And I'm disappointing someone somewhere, but that's the truth.
This movie invented the idea of cameo roles.
Which is pretty epic.
I know. Thank you so much.
Yeah. I mean, all the Muppet movies, we enjoy the cameos in the Muppets.
And long one-liner cameos.
Exactly. I can only imagine how excited people must have been for that. Like literally, Frank Sinatra's in this movie for what? 5 seconds?
Mm-hmm.
He's like, you see the back of him, if that's even him, at the piano, and then he just turns around and there's a cigarette hanging out of his mouth, and he just like looks, and then he turns back. That's it. Can you imagine watching? Maybe they were like, man, this is a 3-hour movie, so we need to make it so people don't fall asleep, so we'll just sprinkle in different actors.
Recognizable faces.
Yeah. I'm very grateful that they did that, and that it probably was very well received, and that it's a fun thing to do. It like helps connect you into the audience with just the greater world of celebrity.
And it gives you greater fodder for the game. What is it? 7 Degrees of Kevin Bacon.
Absolutely.
Yeah. You rely on cameo roles to get you from A to B. Yeah.
I'm now trying to figure out how to get to Kevin Bacon from this movie. But wait.
Oh, no.
I think I can do it. Do you want me to do it?
Try it. Yeah.
Okay. Because this touches upon another portion of this movie, which Shirley MacLaine's in this film.
That's right.
Shirley MacLaine is in this film.
She's so young. I had no idea.
She's 22 when this movie was made.
Wow.
And I told the girls she's very clearly not Indian, which I was like, come on.
She plays Ayuda.
Yeah, Ayuda. And we were so excited because we loved her in the book. But anyway, so she's an Indian princess. Okay, category. So there's Shirley MacLaine. Shirley MacLaine is in the movie Noelle. So that's, is it Anna Kendrick is in that one, right?
Yes, yeah.
Okay. Anna Kendrick is in, no. Oh, man. No. Sorry. I'm just crashing and burning. I can't do it.
Okay. Well, let's just table that.
I'm probably going to finish it later, but yeah, keep going.
Okay.
I just started thinking of too many movies and my brain started overloading.
Well, I just love that we could now point to this movie and say, this is where the idea of a cameo role comes from.
Me too.
That's awesome.
Yep.
So favorite parts, what did you like?
I liked the balloon a lot, actually.
Mm-hmm.
Like seeing how they landed and how it crashed into everything was pretty hilarious. And just the idea of thinking about a world. Oh, when they grabbed snow off the top of the mountain.
Oh, that was so cute.
To put in their champagne bottle. That was hilarious.
Yes.
Thinking about the idea, though, of like there being no one in the air. And then you're just in a small town and then a balloon descending with people in it. Like that just would have been so crazy.
I know.
So crazy.
I love hot air balloons. They just don't make sense. When you look at them in the air, they're just defying what your brain expects.
Mm-hmm.
And this balloon in particular is really cute. Like it's like round and it looks old fashioned-y and yeah.
Oh, I got it. Shirley MacLaine. Shirley MacLaine to Julia Roberts because they're in Steel Magnolias together.
Okay.
And then Julia Roberts to Flatliners. Boom. Kevin Bacon. That's 2 degrees.
Yikes.
Sorry.
Well done.
Stop thinking about it.
Nice.
Sorry, I didn't mean to derail. I just felt very proud of myself.
No, now you're soaring in your own hot air balloon of success. There was also like these aerial shots with the hot air balloon ride that were awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love
They had a lot of cool B footage too, which gave me an opportunity to teach the girls about what B footage and B crews are.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's the camera crews who are like their second unit. They're like, all right, go to Montreal and just film the countryside, or go to Switzerland and film the countryside. None of the stars are there.
I want to be on a B crew.
I know.
That sounds like an amazing job.
You just get to travel and do really cool establishing shots.
Yeah.
And be in really cool parts of the world. There was lots of that, though, in this movie.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
What would you... Wow. I was going to say, what would you change about this movie? But I can already...
We already talked about that.
What were you going to say?
Other favorite parts.
Yeah.
There's a point where they're in America.
Mm-hmm.
And first of all, their take on like American trains is funny. It's always breaking down. And
yes.
Phileas Fogg gets annoyed. Oh, it's fun to see him annoyed.
Yes.
But
and Passepartout gets hit by arrows that bounce off of him. Like 4 or 5 of them bounce off of him.
Yeah, that was a little like, okay. But it squeaked through and won all the Oscars.
It sure did.
No, there's a part where they're on the street and this guy, this American in a cowboy hat, he like touches Ayuda and he's trying to like talk to her.
Yeah.
And Phileas Fogg in his gentleman way says, unhand that woman.
Yes.
And the Yankee cowboy guy is like, why don't you make me? And he's like, without further questions, I will.
Yes.
And he hits him with his umbrella, and then this neat little exchange happens where he kind of ducks, and Ayuda like slyly kind of puts her like umbrella hook on his arm and pulls him one way, and then Phileas Fogg, they like tag team.
I didn't even notice that, honestly.
Oh yeah, it's so slick and such a good maneuver.
Wow.
It was a really cool shot. We have to watch it again so you can see it.
I do not remember her doing that at all. I just remember him getting him.
Yeah, so like at one point he comes after Fogg and she pulls him back with the hook of her.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So basically you're saying this is also the great grandfather of the Kingsman. Because that movie, whenever I think of umbrella fighting, I think of that movie.
Of course.
Yeah.
Yes, this is. I bet Phileas Fogg is a founding member.
He might be.
Connection!
Wow. I'm going to get this back to Lost Boys too at some point. Okay. That was pretty amazing.
Okay, also all the men in the club, the gentleman's club that they belong to, that were tracking Fogg.
Yes.
And they had this elaborate, like, score keeping apparatus.
Huge, like what, 20-foot high chalkboards?
Yeah.
Yeah,
really fun to see all these men like checking the telegraph and getting, I don't know.
It really makes you
updates.
It makes you think about how news traveled back then. Like literally you had a nation in the British Empire, which was all over the world, like enraptured with this story and following this over the course of 2 months. Like this was the thing they were like keeping track of.
And it wasn't just in England. They were following it in America too.
True. Yep. It's pretty wild. It's pretty wild to think about. What if you could do any trip around the world, like with a theme, what would it be?
A theme?
Yeah.
Oh, food.
Food theme?
Yeah, like eat your way around the world.
Oh, that's a good one. You're right.
Yeah, or like, hunt for the best noodles or something like that. Like,
okay.
Yeah, definitely something with food.
I would want to do something where I would have to like compete with the different hairstyles around the world. That'd be nice.
Oh my gosh, the hairstyle in one of the countries, was it Japan?
Oh,
where the men had like part of their hair
Yeah.
shaved. That was interesting. I just love seeing different cultures. Maybe it would be like street food around the world.
Okay.
I could go with that too.
Around the world in 80 bites, maybe you could call it.
Okay. Yeah. I like that.
Nice. What, if any, messages do you think were in this film, Melissa?
Well, Phileas Fogg has this wonderful can-do, don't give up spirit. And he's quiet about it. He's thinking, he's calculating, and then he makes a decision and issues an order. Right?
It's true,
like
yeah.
He does not waver. He doesn't go back and forth. He's no seesawing kind of man. He just makes a decision and does it.
He's no seesawing kind of man. Wow.
I'm going to write a country song about that.
I think you should. You really should. He has a stiff upper lip, you might say.
Yeah, definitely. He keeps calm.
Okay.
And he keeps traveling on.
Keep calm and keep Fogg on. Okay.
What about you? What message pops up to you?
I would say live and die by the clock is probably not the way to live. He found you can't always life is more than just being regimented. I think is the message of this one.
I love the ending when they get back and they're so bummed.
Oh, yeah. Spoilers, by the way. They lost the contest at the end, but then
they realized they gained a day.
Yeah.
They're not late. And then they realize it with like 10 minutes to get to the club.
Yeah.
And he does right on time.
Oh, that is crazy. I have a really controversial question to ask you. You ready?
Okay.
Which was better, the book or the movie?
Oh, man. In this case, I'm going to say what I think.
Please do.
I think it's the movie.
Wow. Okay.
I think the movie does such a good job of like expanding on the book, and it's in a Jules Verne spirit. But it gives you, it's such a visual idea to go around the world in 80 days. And so having all of those B crew shots, the guy who played Phileas Fogg is perfectly Phileas Fogg. I don't know if I would appreciate it as much if I hadn't read the book.
True.
So they really need each other, but I think the movie is fantastic.
I think it's a great movie too. It is one of the times though where it's actually usually it's no contest when you ask that question.
Right.
Like zero, none.
Right.
But I'm pretty sure we read the book in the amount of time it took to watch the movie. Like you could sit down and probably read the book in about 3 hours. So, which is also very rare that you could do that, at least for me. Do you know how many movies were made of this story?
80.
That would be great.
5, 4.
I don't have an exact answer. I tried to look it up and Wikipedia says 8, but then I'm like, that doesn't seem right. And you look on other sources and there's a ton. So there's at least 5 or 6. There's about 5 or 6 well-known ones, but then there's TV movies and there's currently one right now, which I was so tempted to start watching. It's a BBC production of it.
Oh.
Do you know who plays Phileas Fogg?
No. Who? Tell me.
Say it.
Okay, it's a doctor.
It is.
It's David Tennant.
It's David Tennant.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Must watch.
I know, right?
Wow, I'm just glowing with the idea. That's awesome.
He also, it would be weird to see him in that role though, because he's so intense. To have him not be intense it's super interesting to me.
Yeah.
So
he'll have to pull back a lot.
He would definitely have to. And I wonder if he'll let it out or not, you know? I don't know.
Shirley MacLaine, going back to her, she was really good at showing that she was falling for Phileas Fogg without showing. Like
True.
She was really coy, and it was a quiet attraction that grew between them.
Right.
Like in the book.
Much like our own.
Just like how we met.
Yes.
And when you rescued me.
Yes.
Yeah, from the sacrifice.
Yeah. Yeah.
But you can see that she's a good actress.
Yeah.
Already at 22.
It was blowing our kids' minds because a lot of times when we watch really old movies, they're like, is that person still alive? Is that person still alive? And we're like, no, they're not, you know, because it's so long ago. I'm like, she's still alive. And you've seen her in a movie.
Yeah.
And when I told them that she was the nanny elf in Noelle, their minds just exploded. Like, just blew their minds.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was fun. Well, that was a fun trip.
Yes, I would do it again.
I would do it again as well, probably in 80 days.
I tip my hat to you, sir.
And to you, good lady.
That's a wrap.
That's a wrap.
Tell us what you think of this film in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more.